Oh, hello. I'm John Ritlin. This is Real Honesty with John Ritlin, and unfortunately, some sad news here. Mr. Fuji, longtime wrestler, manager, wrestled in various promotions, died yesterday at the age of 82. I knew that he was in bad health. I had heard he was in bad health for a number of years. But basically, this is just a short tribute to what I remember from him. I admittedly did not see much of his in-ring career. I obviously wasn't alive then. I've seen a little bit of it on the network. They had some house shows or some good stuff. He's a three-time tag team champion when it was the WWF with, I believe, Toru Tanaka. And I hope I get that right. If I didn't get that right, I apologize. Again, haven't seen a ton of his in-ring career, but him and Tanaka were a pretty good team. What little bit I saw them, uh, two-time champions in WWF before leaving to go in Georgia Championship Wrestling. They went back to the WWF in the later 70s. Um, were managed by they were managed by Classy Freddie Blassie, which was fine. I mean, that was good stuff. I actually enjoyed that. And see what it is. I actually pulled up some biography stuff here. Freddie Blassie could make anybody really seem just great, and R.I.P. to Freddie Blassie as he passed away a number of years ago. But um, what was really great about Mr. Fuji is after retiring from wrestling. I mean, he was born in 1934, so by 78 he was 44 years old. I mean, if I'm doing my math correct, and it's a little old to keep wrestling. So obviously he transitioned to being a manager. Him and Don Morocco in particular, you could really tell struck up a good friendship when Tuesday Night Titans came up in 84, 85. That was basically just WWE's version of like making fun of Johnny Carson's show and kind of poking fun at themselves. There were shows, little comedy skits and everything, making fun of TV, topical TV at the time. Fuji General Hospital, aka Mr. Fuji screwing up his lines intentionally sometimes because he would always talk, in the thick accent and everything, the thick Japanese accent, and it was just great because Fuji and Morocco played off so well off of each other. Fuji Vice, which was a take on Miami Vice, was in particular probably the best show because they were just making fun of Miami Vice, Don Johnson, and I forget the other guy's name. I don't know. I didn't really watch much Miami Vice, but it was a great send up of it. Mr. Fuji was great at comedy, great at timing. Apparently, a really good ribber backstage. Apparently, liked ribbing Gorilla Monsoon, among others. A lot of guys that he grew up with and wrestled with, and they were from his era. And the thing is, his comedy really shined through there. Also, he managed the Powers of Pain, Warlord and Barbarian. He managed Demolition. I believe he briefly managed Berserker. That probably is one that you could leave off his resume, as the Berserker was not a very good wrestler. But Fuji could always make his guys seem very, very important, no matter how small or low on the card they were, or how big. I mean, Demolition were tag team champions. Powers of Pain were a pretty good monster team. The most famous guy that he managed was Yokozuna, Samoan, playing the Japanese Grand Champion. Mr. Fuji was the exact piece that Yokozuna needed. Of course, Yokozuna, Samoan, not actually Japanese. Pulled it off pretty well, and there have been plenty of Samoans and Americans that have done sumo wrestling and found some success. Late John Tenta in particular. But Yokozuna benefited so much from Mr. Fuji, who could talk for him or whatever, cut some pretty good promos, and of course Yoko would only have to yell out "Banzai." Fuji was very devious. He helped lead Yoko to a couple WWF championships. Him and Owen Hart, or Yokozuna and Owen Hart, to the tag team championships. Fuji retired later in '96, pretty much when Yoko ended up retiring, or getting released from WWF. And Fuji was in failing health after that. But I always remembered his promos, his just great devious nature. He seemed so slimy, yet you were always entertained by him that there was really no way to not like him. Even though he was like he was devious. He had a very used a cane and everything, and had the hat and kind of like Odd Job from James Bond. It was great. It was great stuff, and it fit the look perfectly. He was one of the best managers of all time, and a great personality on TV and in wrestling for a number of years, a few decades. I will remember him most for managing teams like Demolition, Powers of Pain, and Yokozuna. Um, he did get inducted in the WWE Hall of Fame before his death, thankfully, a few years before his death. That was very nice, as Mr. Fuji, of course, deserved to be in the Hall of Fame. Um, so it was great. I mean, even though his speech wasn't great because he was in bad health. I believe he even was a ticket taker at a movie theater in Japan or Hawaii or somewhere. I forget exactly where, but I remember hearing a story that he later started working in a movie theater after his wrestling career wound down. But I always remember Mr. Fuji as being very, very just entertaining. The guy was a top-notch performer in the ring. What little bit I saw, I was impressed with, but his managerial work and his comedy and his comedic timing was in particular just something that I and many fans of my age and a few years older will remember. So rest in peace, Mr. Fuji. Um, and that's it. I will be back with another show. I'm John Ritland.